Alright, so we capped once and we're gonna cap again. This is a recap. So we posted our positions of belief video yesterday, which got a lot of comments and some rude comments as well. Since this is a recap, I've picked a couple comments that could create a little bit of conversation. I want to talk them over, because that's how we do. The first interesting comment to recap from our video yesterday, positions of belief, which you can find probably in the text above. Someone said, we'll leave them nameless because I haven't asked if people want to be named in this kind of thing, which could out them to their family or something, and that would be terrible. I don't think a God exists. I try not to quibble over the most appropriate label because the argument ends up going in circles while my position remains the same. I know that feeling. You get into a conversation with someone and you start to talk about the different points that you've come to and the things you're thinking, and it just gets to a point where you start to spin around things and it just seems to go nowhere, and you realize that this person hasn't come to the conversation with the idea of changing their position in any way, shape, or form. To have an effective conversation and to learn, you have to be open to changing the pieces of your worldview to get closer to the truth. The best thing I've been able to do for this kind of thing is to find the logic and scientific evidence for things like emotional biases that can help a person understand logically, scientifically, psychologically why they might be fooling themselves on a specific issue. An important side note here, though, is that you come to the conversation with the same openness to changing your position and understanding that people do not generally change their worldview around facts as easily as they start to change them from story. This is an odd thing about humans that I don't quite understand. It is just weird, but facts generally don't change people's mind as easily as story. Next one. Number 2 comment says,
for the sake of causal discussion, I tend to simply say that gods don't and can't exist. But if it's going to be a deeper conversation, I'd say I am a theological non-cognitivist.
The word God doesn't actually mean anything coherent to begin with. The interesting part of this to me was the statement that the word God doesn't actually mean anything coherent to begin with. And that's interesting because how could the word God actually coherently mean or define something when our ideas of God come so drastically short of actually describing what God would be if it is out there? The word God is a word that has a lot of baggage now. It's something that we use to try and encapsulate something that is completely beyond our ability to coherently put in a box, coherently put in a word. And what ends up happening is that we just get these cultural trappings of all these different ideas of God and what God is and how you serve God or don't serve God, and they just get all packed into this one 3-letter word in English that starts to have way too much baggage and starts to be kind of offensive to a lot of people after a while. I personally don't believe that we can inherently and accurately define God, but I still have the desire for there to be a God, and I hope there's a God, but I haven't found any evidence. I don't know what to do with that, but I do agree that the word God is really a non-coherent thing. Our last one, this guy says, we'll leave him nameless, sorry, but there are still only 3 possible choices. What else could there even possibly be? 1, I believe. Theist. 2, I do not believe, atheist or agnostic. I would say that in this as just atheist. Or 3, I don't know and don't care, agnostic. I think that's unfair to group agnostics into I don't care. I think I'm an agnostic and I do care. I'm just honestly stuck in the middle. Some days I feel and believe, yeah, there's gotta be something out there. And then other days I get a real kind of panic in my stomach and think, this doesn't make sense, there's no logical evidence, blah, blah, blah. Interesting position, and one that many people take, that they don't really like the addition of agnostic, or they put agnosticism in a point of not caring. Thanks for watching. Subscribe button on YouTube is really important, because then we can actually start to fund this whole thing of searching for meaning and all that from a middle ground. Tune in again later when we're going to be in a new studio and we won't have the air compressor going next door. Later.